Hello, welcome back. Karen Sullivan of Soul Symbols Astrology, and welcome especially to those of you who have subscribed. You're really welcome here, and I do appreciate your subscription. So this week's astrology, we're obviously going to have a look at this eclipse, and I'm going to do a horoscope special. Okay, and we're going to read it in a Hellenistic way. So we're using the whole sign houses, rising signs, and a very clear set of anchors that you can place in real life. So more it's not just more information whizzing through your head. Okay, we're working with an annular ring of fire solar eclipse, and that will be happening on Tuesday, 17th of February, with the sun and moon together at about 28 degrees of Aquarius. So if you're in the UK, this is basically around midday. Astronomically, it's an annular eclipse that's visible along a very narrow path over Antarctica. And partially from parts of the southern hemisphere. Interesting about Antarctica because it usually puts the focus almost on its physical path, and there's a lot of mystery and theorizing about what's going on in Antarctica, so watch the news for that over the next couple of weeks, or your social media, wherever you get your news. But it's more than the visibility. That's not what it's all about. Eclipses can be threshold and reset moments. They're that, the lights go out. There's a strangeness to it. The ancients saw it as omens and signs, and were particularly focused on those eclipse times. But there's that sense of strangeness with it. All the birds stop singing. It's very eerie. If you ever stood under an eclipse, it's an awesome thing. But there's the sun being covered, and there's something, the reveal of the sun. So it's that covering, then revealing, which I think is the symbolism here. And there's something that's changing shape in the background, even if you can't put your finger on it. So it's that kind of mysterious energy to it. But before the horoscopes, I'm going to give you like four simple pillars. We call them pillars, okay, for working with this eclipse. And if you understand these fours, the horoscopes, when I give them, will be clearer. So the first pillar is Aquarius, where the eclipse is happening, but it's also where the pressure is originating from. And this is the big one, the one that you want to pay attention to when I'm talking about the themes and topics of the house Aquarius is in for you. But the week around it, we've had the week before, go look at the video, we've had a sequence of Aquarius planets squaring Uranus and Taurus. We had Mercury on the 5th of February, we had Venus on the 8th of February, and the Sun squares Uranus on the 16th of February. So right before the eclipse, before the moon joins it for the eclipse. So we can think of Aquarius, when I'm looking at your house, as the broadcast, the antenna, where the loudness is coming from in your chart this month. Aquarius is that part of life where the story is going to be beginning and reset for us, where there's a system being rewritten, and that sense of the collective field, whether that's the collective conscious or socially, it's tugging at your personal life, and it's where we are going to be asked to see our role inside a bigger pattern, that sense of this is bigger than me. So Aquarius is Saturn's domicile, Saturn's temple, and that is really important because Saturn brings gravitas to the proceedings. So there's consequences with Saturn, Lord of Karma, realism and responsibility, and he's Kronos, so time and structure. So Aquarius is not only the future and the network, it's also the social contract. This is so important. It's the rules of belonging. So wherever we belong, it's those rules and limitations and boundaries and responsibility. It's the agreements that we're living under and the communities that we participate in, and those long range aims that are shaping the choices we're making in the day to day. So when I say Aquarius is where the pressure is originating from, I mean whatever house Aquarius is in, that house is where the eclipse will be resetting the narrative for you, and that house is also where the questioning will start. Questions of what needs updating or reforming, or a clearer boundary. What does your future self want you to commit to, or step away from? It could be a case of stepping away from. And it's bringing the pressure because it's in a superior square to Uranus. So it's the system pressing on the material that way. The second pillar is Taurus, where Uranus is being hit. And it's where any disruptions or shake-ups are going to land materially. So Uranus is at 27 degrees. So this square is just separating. And intuitively for me, that is saying, we've had all this pressure bearing down with these squares to Uranus, but it's separating now. It's a separate and reset. Right at the beginning, before all these squares happened, Uranus stationed direct, and when it stations, I said in the other video, the volumes turned up. It's almost that picture of it stopping, turning, and the whole topic of the houses getting amplified. But Taurus is a Venus sign. So Taurus is where we're looking at the body, the budget, our resources, food, land, possessions. And it has a lot to do with our sense of stability, or what is stable for us, and our self-worth. So it can be about our safety and what we're relying on to bodily survive. So Taurus is the part of life that we're looking at what is solid and safe and what we can count on. But Uranus in Taurus has been rewriting that sense of stability for years. I think it was May 2018 it moved in there. So a lot of years here. But a direct station is where things start moving forward again. So if you've had disruptions and kind of massive change or surprises in that part of your chart, we are now resetting to move forward. Okay, not only are we resetting with the eclipse, we're resetting with a direct station, a stationing direct. And because Uranus has been squared by Mercury, Venus, and the Sun, the message we're looking at is that Aquarian reset is going to have consequences in the Taurus part of your chart. So it's not just information. It's not theoretical. It's not staying in the mind or the social sphere. It's landing on the ground around all those things and topics there. In the horoscopes, Taurus is the place that I'll be talking about tangible outcomes. So that could be financial pivots, changes in the body, in the nervous systems, but particularly shifts in what we value and changes in resources, or suddenly we have clarity about what is sustainable, what isn't sustainable. Suddenly, I say, because Uranus is sudden change, sudden clarity, sudden everything, and often disruptive. And there's one more thing that kind of helps it make sense. Aquarius to Taurus, as I said, is a square, and it's a fixed square. They're both fixed signs, both Aquarius and Taurus. So they don't do quick, tidy transitions. Okay, fixed signs tend to hold on, and that can be sometimes out of that sense of loyalty or fear, or just sheer inertia. I think I spoke in my last video about the farmer trying to move the ball. If you've ever witnessed that, it's like, sometimes they don't want to move. Okay, there's a stubbornness there. Okay, that's just fixed sign. And then it's that change when they absolutely have to. Okay, that's that fixed energy. So if you've been having this sense of, oh, I can't do it this way anymore. That's the fixed sign hitting its turning point. Okay, so watch out or look at those things. And as I say, Uranus has been in Taurus for a lot of years, so this might have been lots of sudden disruptions that have peaked or are peaking at the moment. So then we have this third pillar. So Saturn is the ruler of Aquarius. So Saturn's ingress to Aries is going to show where the eclipse, what is happening at the eclipse, what this reset is about, where it's moving next. Okay, and that ingress is before the eclipse, but it makes that conjunction to Neptune at 0 degrees. So this is a really important. It's the absolute beginning of the whole zodiac wheel. Okay, so it's also crucial because an eclipse is not just for the day. It's not happening on the 17th and that's it. It's kind of like a chapter. And the ruler is telling you where the chapter is going. But I think in this case, it's more than a chapter. I think we're starting a new book with the 0 degrees of Aries. So we have Saturn, the ruler of Aquarius, entering Aries on the 14th, and the eclipse happens in Aquarius, but that ruler is already stepping into Aries. So it there's a feel to it that it's the final breath of an old cycle and that first push into the other. And as I said, because it's at 0 degrees, and Saturn is a bit debilitated here. It's not his favourite place to be either. So he's in his, or was it full detriment? He's in his fall here. It's the opposite of his exaltation, which is Libra. So Aries is a Mars sign, and Aries brings those themes of initiation, urgency, bravery. There can be conflict with Aries, but it can be decision and momentum too. That sense of I choose, I choose this. Okay, so Saturn in Aries is very different. Saturn to that Saturn in Aquarius, where he's temple, where he rules. He can be strategic, conceptual, systemic there in Aquarius. But in Aries, Saturn has to build through action, that martial Mars action, okay? It has to build in a world that is wanting to move fast. And Saturn's, he's a slow, meticulous mover. Saturn in Aries will be where we learn the difference between that Mars martial impulse and courage, between speed and stamina, and between starting a fire and tending it. If we start a fire and walk away, it either burns down or burns out. When we tend it, it's useful to us. So in the horoscope, I'll tell you where Aries lands for you by whole sign house, because that's where Saturn is asking for long-term structure, boundary, discipline, responsibility. It's building something here. Saturn is the master builder in that sense. That's where the eclipse story has to become real. Whatever is reset, whatever is realigned at this eclipse, and it's always reset energy. Saturn is asking you to make it real. So the themes and topics of the houses that lands in for you is where you're going to be building and making it a reality. So Saturn's Aries chapter or new book, it's a new book, is running from mid-February 2026 into 2028. So it's not a short story. So the eclipse things will ripple out for several months, but the larger build is happening through Saturn in Aries. That's part that is asking us what we're willing to commit to and willing to outgrow. Then we have a fourth pillar, your rising sign ruler, showing you what's in the driver's seat. Okay, this is the part that makes the horoscope personal. And of course, it's not completely personal because it's an arc for everyone. I would have to see your individual chart where your planets are placed. There's a lot more to make it truly personal. And on that note, I always forget to plug things. If you do want a reading, check out my website, soulsymbols.co.uk. You can book an astrology reading there. But in this whole sign astrology, the rising sign sets the whole charts. It's what rises over the ecliptic the moment you're born. Okay, it tells us which house is which. But the ruler of your rising sign is the lord of your nativity, your chart ruler. It's telling us what part of your life is steering the ship right now. Okay, who's got the steering wheel? What's got the steering wheel? So it's the planet that describes the main character's motivation. So really interesting to see the themes and topics of that. So just for instance, as we're on Aries, and Aries rising, Mars is the ruler. Taurus rising, Venus, Gemini and Virgo is Mercury, Cancer the moon, Leo the sun, for Libra it's Venus again, and for Scorpio Mars, and for Sag and Pisces, it's Jupiter. Capricorn and Aquarius, it's Saturn. So they're the rulers of those planets, and that's Hellenistic astrology. Okay, and the modern ascribes the outer planets to some of those signs, but I use the Hellenistic framework. And here we need to look at how we practically use all this energy in each horoscope. So when I get to your sign, I'll be saying where the chart ruler is placed, what sign and what whole sign house. And you can kind of treat it like the place to put your energy. Um, it's the part of life and the themes and topics there that where your efforts are going to create traction, where events tend to gather. And it's probably where your attention is going to continuously return and where choices matter most. And really, with astrology, it's not that the stars are doing something magically, it is becoming conscious of what is going on in the sky, as above, so below, so that we can make conscious choices. It will continue, that will all continue with us being consciously aware or not. But when we are consciously aware, we don't get worried, so worried. We do get worried, but we don't get so worried. We can work with what is going on. So, for instance, if your chart ruler is Pisces, you might be navigating via intuition, those emotional tides, faith, artistry, or healing. Um, but you also need to watch for fog and assumptions. If your chart ruler is in an Aquarius, you're navigating through community, ideas, networks, collaborations, and those long range goals. But you may need to watch detachment or over mentalizing, overthinking. Okay. Air sign. And if your chart ruler is Aries, you're in an initiation cycle. So there's a sense of not being able to think your way through it. It's acting your way through it. So if you listen to the horoscopes, listen for your rising sign first. If you don't know it, listen for your sun sign. But the rising sign will land more accurately in terms of your real world events. And for each rising sign, I'm going to have a look at what house Aquarius is for you, because that's where the eclipse reset and it's the place of origin for what's going on. Then I'm going to have a look at what house is Taurus for you, because that's where Uranus shocks land materially and where stability is being renegotiated. And then I'll have a look at what house Aries is for you, because Saturn, the ruler of the eclipse, is moving there on the 14th of February. And that's where the longer term responsibility is demanded. And then lastly, I'm going to look at your chart ruler. The ruler of your rising sign, because that's what's driving choices, focus, and the way you move through this eclipse season. So this eclipse is at 28 degrees of Aquarius, and it's tightly connected to the late degree fixed sign story. So if you have planets or angles around 24 to 30 degrees of the fixed signs, Taurus, Leo, Scorpio or Aquarius, you might feel this one more directly. And that doesn't necessarily mean bad, it means loud, it means amplified, it means personal, okay? And it can mean that you're at a turning point. All right, so that's the map. Aquarius, the origin point, Taurus, the landing point, Saturn's ingress into Aries, where the story goes next, and your chart ruler, what's steering you through it. Let's get into the horoscopes. We're going to start with Aries rising and move through the whole zodiac. I'll see you there. So, this eclipse is happening here in Aquarius in your 11th. So this is where you're going to have reset. So focus or be aware of friends, alliances, networks, audience, long-term goals, and all those people that you build with. Okay, they're your allies who support you to build. Can also be benefactors, some people who help you financially to reach your hopes and dreams and goals. Taurus, where Uranus is here at 27 degrees, is in your second house. So this is the pressure point. It's your income, spending, pricing, your sense of self-worth, and what you're prepared to exchange your energy for. Okay. Saturn is moving here into your first. So that can be quite heavy. It's a new chapter or a new book on your sense of personal authority, sovereignty. So the topics around that will be your boundaries, anything to do with your identity, stamina, and those serious commitments. Your chart ruler, Aries, is Mars, and that is up there in the eclipse, in the 11th Aquarius with the eclipse, and it will later square off to Uranus. You'll have to wait for the video for that. Okay, so your plot, it's the plot, it's what's in the driving seat. Your motivation will be coming from community, from causes or collaborators and future plans. So this reset of the eclipse is paired up with the ruler of your rising sign. Okay, so it's in your real life, it may be about reshaping your circle, making a decisive call about a group or a project, uh, raising your rates, changing your income, how you think about your income, the model of your income, and stepping into sharper kind of sense of this is who I am now, a new version of yourself. So this can be a big one for you, Aries. If you stay consciously aware of those themes and topics, you can then work beautifully with them. Okay, that's what I have for you, Aries. I'll see you in the next one. Hello, Taurus. So this Aquarius eclipse up here is in your 10th house. It's on your angle, so you will definitely feel this. Okay, the 10th house is where the eclipse reset is for you. So you can be looking at topics such as your career direction, your visibility, your leadership and reputation. It's about what you're known for, your public life. And Taurus is your first house. This is where Uranus sits. So you've probably been feeling a lot of disruption, sudden changes, urges to want to break free over a period of time since 2018. Okay. So this Uranus story that I spoke about earlier is happening for you in your body, identity, your style and independence, and that real sense of I'm not doing that anymore. Okay, Saturn is in your 12th house, and so this is the house that can be hidden, but it may be asking here, Saturn in Aries, for closure. Uh, you may feel like you're wanting to rest and retreat, and it can be about your shadow work, your inner disciplined inner work. So those clean endings that happen behind the scenes, as opposed to the public reset. Your chart ruler is Venus, and she's sitting here in Pisces. So it's the 11th house, okay? Um, so it's very supportive. We're talking friends, patrons, collaborators and community. It's like a soft power source for you. You're better resourced through connection than through pushing alone. So in your real life, we can be looking at a public pivot or rebrand, a new role, changing your look, your routine, cutting back and pruning back obligations that you may have want to break free, rebel against, whatever it is, and leaning into kinder communities that actually nourish you. So you may find a change in those communities. That's what I have for you, Taurus, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye. Hello, Gemini. Aquarius is in your ninth house. So this reset is happening there. So the ninth house, the topics you may want to consciously be aware of and watch. Because resets may come in your beliefs, education, publishing, teaching, travel. It's the story that guides your life, really. So it's a big reset in that sense for you, Taurus. Sorry, Taurus, Gemini. So that's why I said Taurus, Taurus. Taurus, where the squares have been happening, is in your 12th house. So this is the pressure point, and it's a hidden house. It's the house, can be the house of self-sabotage, what's hidden, okay? So the pressure point can be around things like your sleep, mental health, things that are hidden that are draining you, the subconscious cost of overstimulation. So they're the topics you need to be aware of because there's pressure to bear there. Saturn moving into Aries is moving into your 11th house. So the topics there, it's makes goals and networks more serious for you here. Fewer distractions, more commitments to the right circles. So there may be a reset in those that you are spending social time with or networking with here. Your chart ruler, which is Mercury, where are you, Mercury? Sitting here in your 10th house. So it's making things public here, public communication here. So your voice messaging, if you're in business, it's your brand, and also about your career communications. These are all going to be central for you here with your ruler up there in the driving seat, okay? So you can fit that in these other topics and yeah, find out what's going on. But it's in Pisces, okay? So that can be, Mercury in Pisces can be poetic and creative and even oracular, you know, spiritual, a real sense of spiritual communication. So it can be inspired, but it also can bring kind of fantasy and foggy. So you might have some fogginess in your sense of communication. In real life, we're talking about launching content, teaching. This is overall changing your message and stepping into a more visible role while while at the same time you're tightening boundaries around rest, scrolling, and the always on nervous system. Okay, so be aware of all those things and topics over this eclipse period and going forward. So that's what I have for you, Gemini. I'll see you in the next one. Hello, Cancer. So, this eclipse for you is happening in the 8th house. This is what is resetting for you. So, here we have in your Aquarius 8th shared money, debts, taxes. It's also about intimacy, trust. It can be about psychological entanglements. So, what you're merging with. So, look at those. Topics, be aware of them, see what is resetting there for you. Taurus for you is in your 11th house. So this is where Uranus is and where the squares have been and where this eclipse is squaring. So it's the pressure point. So this can be friend groups, team dynamics. You may have audience shifts, community conflicts, or breakthroughs. Okay, and we've been talking about the psychological entanglements. It may be that within your groups you see those pressure points and move on from them. Saturn is moving or has just moved into your 10th house. This is your public house. It's very visible. Okay, so this can be about career accountability, may have to do with topics of leadership. Maybe you'll be called into leadership. It's also about the structure and reputation and taking responsibility for direction. And Cancer, your ruler of your chart is the moon and is obviously obscuring the sun here. Okay. And it is in your 8th house. So that's putting your emotional focus right into deep waters in the 8th here. So you may be processing your attachments, your vulnerability, and the power exchange very directly. So in real life, for you, Cancer, we are talking about renegotiating shared finances, clarifying relationship agreements, maybe about stepping up professionally and being more selective about the groups you give your energy to. Okay, Cancer, that's what I have for you. I will see you in the next one. Hello, Leo. So you have this eclipse. Sorry, the moon's not in there. It should be. It's where I've been turning the wheel round, but it is there. Believe me, it's at 28 degrees with the sun. It's Aquarius is your 7th house here. And it's where things are going to be reset. So you need to cast your awareness to relationships, clients, contracts, the terms change here. For those relationships and the other things. Okay. Taurus, where Uranus is, where these squares have been made, is in your 10th house. And this is the pressure point for you. And you will feel this loudly because it's on your angles, okay, 1st, 7th, 4th, and 10th. So be aware with that. You may not have to look too hard to see these themes and topics coming through. So Uranus in your 10th, Taurus your 10th. And yeah, as I said, the pressure points here. So we can have career surprises. There may be public pivots here or changes in your role or your status. Um, there may be abrupt shifts in what you're building. So you may change or shift what you've been building in that 10th house themes. And Saturn going into Aries here is your 9th house. So it's asking for disciplined growth. This is where the eclipse reset will be playing out what Saturn is expecting you to carry forward almost. So we're talking about study, publishing, legalities. It could be travel plans, long distance travel, or a more defined philosophy. Your chart ruler is the sun, and again, part of the eclipse, just like Cancer has the moon as part of the eclipse in your 7th house. So this is what's driving you, and it will be showing you one way or another that partnership is central, that other people mirror you, challenge you, and shape the next chapter. Okay, so relationship and partnership really important here. You're not meant to do it all solo right now. So in real life, Leo, we're talking about renegotiating partnership or client contracts, taking a stance publicly, aligning your career path with your principles, and committing to the training or the credentials that make you more visible, more able, and your presence undeniable there, Leo. Okay, that's what I have for you. I shall see you in the next one. Bye bye. Hello, Virgo. So, this eclipse reset is in Aquarius. The moon's gone over. It's because I've moved in hours. Okay, but it's in your sixth house, Aquarius. That's where it's happening. And it's where the reset is happening. So, have conscious awareness around work patterns, health routines, your daily systems, boundaries around service. Okay. If you're aware of those, if there are changes there, you can work with them consciously. Taurus, where the squares have been happening with Uranus, sits here in your ninth. So this is that pressure point, okay? It's what's being pressured in real terms for you. So it could be, a real change in your belief systems. Um, there could be study or travel disruptions. Um, but your worldview may be changing, and that update forces practical replanning for you. And Saturn is moving into your eighth house here, Aries. Here's Saturn. So it's bringing it's the story that's going forward after the eclipse reset, and it brings a seriousness to shared resources and intimacy. We can be talking about debts, taxes, commitments, and emotional accountability. This is what Saturn is wanting to build in your eighth house here. Your chart ruler Mercury is sat here in Pisces in your seventh house. So it's what's steering for you, okay? The ruler of your house steers, okay? So it's making relationship dialogue central. So be aware of that, be focused on that. But Pisces requires extra precision here, okay? Because your ruler here, it's opposite where it should be. It's in exile, okay? So, and it can be poetic and a bit floaty and foggy. So say what you mean, confirm details and avoid assumptions. Okay. And because it's in Pisces, the saying what you mean will come with compassion and care, if you focus into that. In real life, Virgo, what this means for you, it could be a new schedule or job, your workflow, looking at your job, your career workflow. Could be about adjusting health routines, renegotiating relationship expectations, and getting very clear about shared money and shared emotional labour. Okay, Virgo, that's what I have for you. I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye. Hello, Libra. So this eclipse for you in Aquarius here is happening in your fifth house. This is what is being reset. So we're talking about creativity, romance, pleasure, children, risk. The fifth house is very much about taking a gamble, and joy needing a new structure here. So be consciously aware of those themes and topics, and you can work in tandem with them. So Taurus, where Uranus is, and the squares, these superior squares have been happening, is where the pressure point is for you, Libra. So this could be in shared finances because it's your eighth, loans, taxes, and intimacy. There may be sudden expenses or renegotiations can show up for you here. Your Saturn into Aries is happening here in your seventh house. Okay, there's Saturn. So this could be a major relationship or contract chapter or a new book on that. So commitment tests, uh, having clearer boundaries and fewer grey areas with partners and clients is a good way to work with it. Your chart ruler, where are we? Where are we? I've lost myself here. Your chart is right next door. I was looking all around the charts. Your chart ruler here, Venus, and it's near the North Node here, which will mean an increase for good or for bad here. So be aware of increases here. It's here in Pisces, okay? And she is exalted here. Your ruler is exalted in Pisces. Beautiful placement of your ruler. So this Venus in Pisces is saying healing comes through daily life. So that's better routines, kinder self-talk, to organise supportive work rhythms. And she's saying love improves when your system is resourced. So in real life, we're talking about taking a creative project seriously. This fifth, clarifying your commitment in love and business here, restructuring shared money, your eighth, and building habits that make your life feel more devotional than depleted, Libra. So that's what I have for you, Libra. I will see you in the next one. Bye bye. Hello, Scorpio. So this eclipse is happening in your fourth house. So it's on your angles. This is happening first, fourth, seventh, and 10th, your angles. Okay. So it's a reset here, and it's around the topics of home, family, and foundations. Maybe your living situation, your base is transforming, maybe you're moving. Taurus is in your seventh house, and that is where the pressure has been. The squares have been happening from your fourth to your seventh here. So it's the pressure point. It's been a pressure point. So it can be partners, clients wanting new terms. Relationships are where unpredictability lives. Okay. So focus on those relationships and any disruptions or sudden changes there. That will be the pressure for the reset. Your Saturn into Aries is happening next door in your sixth house. So Saturn's demanding discipline in work, health. So look at your structure, your pacing, and making sustainable efforts there. Your chart ruler, Scorpio, is Mars and is sitting again in your fourth alongside its co-present with this eclipse. So it's putting your drive at home and your foundations. So it may be that you find that motivation to move or to renovate or to redefine family roles, or just to build a cozier and truer base. It's also about what's at the foundation. So that can be your inner life. This is the private realm, the fourth. So in real life, this may be about around the topics of changing living arrangements, your fourth, negotiating a key relationship, which is your seventh, tightening your daily regime, which is your sixth, and that is a story that Saturn will be continuing from this eclipse, and choosing stability that supports freedom rather than anything that cages you in or represses that freedom. Okay, Scorpio, that's what I have for you. I'll see you in the next one. Hello, Sagittarius. So, Aquarius for you, where this eclipse reset is happening, is in your third house. So, this is about your mindset. Okay, can be about communications, learning. It may be some resets in regards to your siblings or neighbours here, and also short travel. Your daily narrative may be reset, rewired here for you, Sagittarius. Taurus is in your sixth house. So it's that pressure point. It's where Uranus is, and it's where all the squares have been happening. Okay. So the pressure point may be around subjects, topics of work, health disruptions. You may realise there are systems, your everyday and routines that need updating here. Aries is moving into your fifth house. Aries, not Aries. Saturn is moving into Aries, your fifth house. Okay. So it can bring a seriousness to creativity, to dating and romance and children. It can bring that disciplined joy and a committed output. This is where the eclipse reset story will be carried on. Okay, 0 degrees here, so this could be a new chapter or a complete new book for you, Sagittarius, in this area. Your chart ruler is Jupiter and sitting up there beautifully exalted It's been there for the best part of the year. Will continue there. It's in retrograde at the moment until June, July, when it moves on to Leo. But it's your eighth house here. So Jupiter would have been deepening everything here since I think it was June last year it went in. So look at areas such as your shared resources, intimacy, emotional bonds, therapy or inner work you may have been doing, and that growth that Jupiter brings comes through honest vulnerability and mature merging. So these are the growth and depth that Jupiter has been requiring from you for some time, and it's what's driving you at the moment. Okay, so in real life, we're looking at changing your content or communication habits here in your third, rebuilding a healthier schedule. Okay, that's sixth house there. Committing to a creative practice. That's your story going forward. Okay, in that fifth house, and getting clear about financial and emotional entanglements. That can be your eighth. And that's what I have for you, Sagittarius. I'll see you in the next one. Hello, Capricorn. So this Aquarius eclipse reset is happening in your second house here in Aquarius. So we're talking resets around money, income, possessions, and your self-worth, what you value and what you charge. Maybe you're, higher your prices to reflect the value you have in your work and what you do and who you are. Taurus, where the pressure has been coming to bear because the squares are from Aquarius to Taurus, is your fifth house, and that is a pressure point. So for some time you might have been feeling pressure points, breakthroughs, breakdowns, or disruptions in your romance or your creativity, any risks that you've taken, and children. So there can be sudden desire shifts, budget meets pleasure moments. Maybe the pleasure that you have is, you're realising it's too expensive. Um, and it may mean here bold leaps for you, Capricorn. Okay, Saturn, your ruler, is moving into Aries, your fourth house. So this is on an angle for you here. So the eclipse reset being taken forward is really important. It's about your foundational responsibilities. So home, family, property. It's about your roots and the emotional architecture of your life. It is the private life. It can be to do with generational work, ancestral work you may be doing. Your chart ruler as well is Saturn in Aries here. So it's the headline. It really is the headline of this reset for you. It's your ruler and it's moving to 0 degrees. A new book is being written for you. So it's building a sturdier base, but doing it in that Aries way. So decisive, maybe fast tracked, but Saturn may have other things to say about that. You may have to balance the fastness and the slowness of Saturn. It may require courage and firm boundaries here for you, Capricorn. So in real life, it's about restructuring your income here in your second, rethinking what security means, in your fourth, maybe moving, renovating, or taking on family duties. And then, choosing creative romantic paths, your fifth, that don't destabilize the foundation that you're trying to build here in your fourth, Capricorn. That's what I have for you. I shall see you in the next one. Bye bye. Hello, Aquarius. So, your eclipse reset is happening in your first house. So, you've had such a stellium and so much activity going from your first to your fourth here. on your angles, Aquarius. So you'll really be feeling it, but you've probably adjusted somewhat. You've got Pluto sat there. You've had all those planets squaring off with Uranus, so I expect you're working with it well. But this reset will be about your identity, your body. It can be about presentation and your personal trajectory, your dharma. It's rebirth territory we're in here, Aquarius. Taurus in your fourth, as I said, on your angle, that's the pressure point. So your home, family, property, anything that's at your foundations, your base, it wants freedom or truth telling. And this will be something that you've been feeling in this area since 2018 as Uranus has passed through. Moves out April, you might be happy to know. Um, Saturn into Aries, your ruler, is happening in your third house, right at 0 degrees. Okay, so it's shifting the eclipse ruler into your communications house. So this is about a serious voice, discipline learning, having clearer boundaries with media or attention. Yeah. Your chart ruler, Saturn, again, is in that third. So it's saying the new you needs a new message. Um, so your words and decisions, this can be about a real release of your throat chakra, finding your voice here. Um, and your daily mental diet will become the structure that holds that rebirth, that reset rebirth. So in real life, we're talking about rebrand, new routines, a move or family boundary shift. You could be launching writing or podcast or teaching, this third house here, and cutting mental noise so that your voice is stronger and heard and valuable. Okay, Aquarius, that's what I have for you. I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye. Hello, Pisces. So, Aquarius, where this reset is happening, is in your 12th house, the house of hidden things. So, this can be about endings. These are the things that, they may be apparent, maybe not, but watch out for them. Be aware. Endings, retreat, closure. Um, It could be calling for a spiritual or psychological detox here in your 12th. Um, and what's hidden may be coming up to be released. And with Mars there, that's bringing the action there in that hidden house, plus Pluto, that transformational. So it's quite huge here, Pisces, for you going on in your 12th. Taurus, where the squares have been, is in your third, so it's where the pressure point is. So you could be finding pressure in the areas of tech, communications, transport, or pressure with your siblings. Um, your information stream can change quickly here. Okay. And Saturn into Aries is carrying this eclipse reset story forward. And so it makes money and self-worth more structured. So your budgeting, your earning consistency, having fewer leaks here. So this is really positive for you, Pisces, here in your second. That's a story that's going to be carrying forward. And it may be, a whole new book because this is 0 degrees of Aries. It's the beginning of the zodiac. Okay. So watch for those topics there. Then your chart ruler is the beautiful Jupiter, who is sat retrograde here in the fifth house. He's also exalted. So he's expanded more than he usually is, okay? So it's bright medicine for you, Pisces, okay? Creativity, romance, children, joy and play. There's an artistic fertility here. It's growth that comes from heartfelt expression and emotional warmth. So in real life, it may be with this 12th house stepping back to heal. Um, with Uranus in your third, it could be changing how you communicate and move through your days. And then with Saturn in the second, it could be, taking finances seriously. And then with your ruler here in the fifth, doing the driving. It could be letting creativity and romance to be restorative rather than escapist. Okay, Pisces, that's what I have for you. I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.